In England, they've got the tube, which is an underground subway system. And when you approach the subway system and you go down below the ground and you are standing there waiting for the train comes to a halt, and this beautiful, beautiful King's English voice comes across the intercom system that says, "Mind the gap, mind the gap." And when it says that, you're like, okay, you know, the door's open, there's a big gap there, and if I step into the gap, I could get injured and bloodied and bruised and die. I could get in big trouble. So of course they're warning you about it. But I realized, my goodness, that it's the gap that we have in life between where we are now and where we want to be, where we have the most pain, where we have the most stress. And where you are now versus where you want to be can be a gigantic gap. And sometimes this chasm looks so deep and so threatening, we don't even know how we would ever cross it. Some people get stuck in the gap and just swim around in it and stay there, and they try to crawl through it and crawl out of it. Some people build bridges, or some people just decide to shift their mindset to look at things a whole different way. By the time you finish your day, you're going to have a lot of different ways on how to do that. My good friend, Juan L. Teague, who wrote the book called The Zig Difference. You've heard of Zig Ziglar before? She based a wonderful book on him. She said that a Learjet is a very fast and powerful aircraft that is symbolic of you and your aspiration for high achievement that will allow you to develop into a highly successful business person. Well, the cool thing about Learjets is they've got all this wonderful technology to fly high and go all over the place with no limitations. And so do you. You are genetically engineered for greatness, to fly high and do extraordinary things. But just like at the runway in an airport, when a fog comes in, we get grounded. Oh, we've got the flight plan, we've got our strategic business plan of what we want to do, we've got our New Year's resolutions and our goals and our desires, and we've got the education and the people skills and so forth, but we get stuck burning the fuel, hoping for the future of what we would like to create, but it doesn't come to fruition and we never take off. Why does that happen? Because we get stuck in the fog. What is in our fog? Just like an acorn is genetically engineered to become a mighty oak tree, you too are genetically engineered for greatness. And regarding your fog, when you start to look at what is holding me back, what's keeping me from flying high, that analysis gives you so much freedom. Is it procrastination? Is it because you need a new software program? Is it because you need to get a divorce? Is it because things are happening that you don't like and you really need to make some big changes, that once you remove the fog and blow it away and you clear the fog, prepare for takeoff because you can go amazing places. Did you see Under the Tuscan Sun with Diane Lane? Most every woman did. Was that not a great movie? Diane Lane is speaking to this beautiful French woman, this beautiful blonde, gorgeous, fabulous lady. And she says to her, "Darling, darling, they built the tracks across the Alps before the train was ever invented." I'm going to say that again. It applies to every one of you. They built the tracks across the Alps before the train was ever invented. So before the train ever left the station, they were able to design the tracks to where that was going to go. Now you're the lead car in your life, and you're following your tracks. But the interesting thing about change is that you may be the lead car. And if you've ever heard trains connecting and they clank together and they make all this violent noise, is that that's what it feels like. You know, we're going through life as we thought we were going to be doing. Here's our plan. This is how I want to be. We are completely oriented to how we want things to be. And then, bam, with all this violent clanking like a train, a chain slams up against behind us, and we have this extra new weight. And just as we get disoriented from that change, we reorient ourselves. And this is a natural progression of orientation, disorientation, and reorientation. The Gulf Coast really got hit by a lot of challenges. And about 2005, we were riding pretty, weren't we? Life was good, the economy was strong, and then hello, Hurricane Ivan. Hurricane Ivan seemed to be the start of a lot of big changes that we all went through that did require resilience and adapting and reorienting. Because you know what happens when you have a hurricane? Oh boy. All the insurance companies in this area were like, whoa, we're not going to insure houses anymore. Bam, talk about a change we had to adapt to. When you can't get insurance for beach houses, guess what happens? Bam, you can't sell them. And then if you can't sell them, bam, people go into foreclosure and short sale. Every time we get used to one change, we get slammed with another one. And then you get an oil spill. And so the resilience that we've seen in our economy locally, the resilience that we've seen among people's attitudes to keep on thriving and keep on going and standing strong is rather brilliant, isn't it? But as you have changes that are hitting you, sometimes changes come in addition. I mentioned some of the challenges that I was having, but in 1 year, I got mold in my air conditioning lines. I got a moth infestation in my pantry. And I also got mice. How does this happen? It's like, really, God, really? Because changes, they slap you from out of nowhere, and it always comes as a surprise. And so, with all this laid out, when these changes occur, we're going to talk about shift, shed, shine. How can you shift your mindset? Because